Hello and welcome to another week of Sambo iRacing. It is week 7, season 2, 2024. We're in the Formula Vee, this time at a brand new track for the Formula Vee. It is Motorsport Areana Oschersleben. What to say about this track? Well, first of all, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, so I do apologise to any Germans in the audience. Secondly, I think it's going to be quite a change from what we experienced last week at Circuit de Lebanon, in that it's very wide. It's not very undulating, and there are plenty of places to make some passes and make it difficult for the cars in front. So it should make for an exciting week of racing. If you're new to the channel, thank you. Please like, subscribe, welcome. What we do is we do a slowed down lap from the cockpit where I show you the braking markers. Then we run through at full speed from the chase cam, and then we go back for a final full speed run through from the cockpit with the driving line back on. If you are one of the people that clicked on my new Buy Me a Coffee link, thank you so much. It really, really does make my day when I get those notifications, and your support for the channel is greatly, greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get in the cockpit and do the lap. Okay, so we are back in the cockpit now. So usual things that I'll tell people. So I loaded this test session from the V schedule. So it is loading in with the right track temperature and air temperature that we will all be racing in next week. The one difference is the wind direction and the wind speed will change every time we load in due to the new Tempest system. So if you do get to the start-finish line, you find that you're sort of 3/10 up on me by T1. That's just because the wind may be in your favour from behind at that stage. I have tested it in 3 different sessions, and all my times were very similar, despite the wind coming from different directions. But this was my fastest overall, with a, 4 or 5 mile an hour wind coming in from the north. Anyway, let's start the lap. We're over on the right hand side, in 4th gear, over the start finish line, and through a turn 1 here into hotel is flat. So as you can see, what we're wanting to do is get a nice cut on the apex over the red and yellow curbing without going through the no cut sort of jumpy curbs. And what we're going to do is, just before we get to this change in tarmac color here, we're going to brake in a straight line up to about 65%, so about 2/3 pressure in 4th gear. We're going to try and just come away from this false apex here. We're going to drop it down to 3rd gear when the revs get right, and rather than keeping it nice and tight here around turn 2, we want a nice wide entry in so that we can get on the throttle nice and early. And we want to get as close to the no-cut curbing on the right-hand side as possible without hitting it. Keeping it flat in 3rd gear. We're going to rev it out here. I've got the wind behind me slightly, and what we're looking for is this sort of pole with the lights on it right up ahead. As we get under that, we're in 3rd gear. We're going to give it a big brake up to about 50%, there or thereabouts. We're going to really slowly bleed off the brakes into a trail brake. I'm going to slowly build back up on the throttle. So if you go too hard on the throttle too early, you're going to exit too wide. If you get off the brakes too early, exactly the same thing. So you're really trailing it off, and then you're really building back up on the throttle. You'll see it a lot better when we're in the chase cam, and you can see the telemetry graph better. So fully back on the throttle. Use the full track on the way out. As long as you keep your left-hand side tyres on the left of this white line, you're okay. What we're looking for the entry of T4, we're up to 4th gear, and we're going to take this out flat. So I don't actually go to the apex here on turn 4, and that's because I want a nice wide entry into T5 so that I can get right on the apex without hitting the no-cut barrier on the left. Now, what I will say is I've got the wind directly behind me here. So it's only 7 kilometers an hour. When I ran this, when the wind was coming from the opposite direction, the south, I didn't actually need to make a lift at this next point here. But because I've got the wind behind me, I'm going that little bit faster. I do a big lift down to about, 0, and then start building my way back up. And that 0 is just to get the rear rotated so that I can get it into turn 6 and 7 nicely. So I'm fully back on the throttle. Again, I'm clipping the curb nicely here. I'm now going to get straight back onto the brake up to, again, about 2/3, 60%. I'm going to bleed it off gradually. And again, I'm going to slightly build up on the throttle in 3rd gear over on the right-hand side so that I can get back onto the throttle midway through the corner. And what that will do is that will push me outside perfectly. So where I am here is no X. If I'd have gotten the throttle that little bit earlier, I'd have been off onto the grass on the left-hand side. Now we're going to take this entry here into turns 8 and 9 completely flat. So again, we're wanting to get close and up against this no-cut curbing without hitting it. And the same on the left-hand side here. So again, cutting it as close as possible without cutting it. We're not going to brake here for the entry of McDonald's, turn 10. Just going to do a lift, get the rear rotated, and now we're going to build back up on the gas, as you can see, so that by the time I'm coming off the curbing, I'm back up to 100%, up to 4th gear. So this next turn was quite tricky with the wind the way it is. So again, when you come up to this, if the wind is against you, you can more or less do it flat out. But with the wind the way it is, as I come up to it, I'm going to do a big lift down to about 15%. Again, going over the apex nicely without hitting the no-cut sausage curb. And now we're back on the gas in 4th gear and then changing down to 3rd. And the reason why I do that, and you'll see from the chase cam the effect that it has on the car. If I didn't do that big lift and then change down to 3rd, I kept running wide on the exit here of 12, but by doing that, just rotates, just loosens the back end nicely. And it means that you can come off nicely on the exit here without getting an X. Up to 4th gear. As we go around 13, just a big lift and then back up. So as you can see, I went down to about 15% and then got straight back on the throttle. It is tempting to drop it down to 3rd there, but it is not faster. So, and then looking to the final corner. So if you see this white line here, this is my braking marker. So just as I get to this, I'm going to brake relatively hard for this lap, up to about 56%. And what you don't want is you don't want your right-hand tyres going across the white line here. So if you do that, you will get an X and you'll ruin your lap. And again, we're just trailing it off, dropping it down to 3rd gear on the apex, back up to 100% throttle. And over and across the line in a 1:43.399. Now, obviously, I record this nice and early in the week so that I can get it out to you guys, so you've got the whole weekend to practice. At present, this is the fastest lap on Garage 61. It should be competitive. It may not be the fastest time out here. I have only run about 12 laps. But if you're putting in times like this, I can guarantee, having watched it back, that you will be competitive and be able to race anyone this week. Right, back to chase cam for a full speed run through. Okay, here we go at full speed. Some fast annotation from me. So over on the right hand side, we're taking turn 1 flat. As we get halfway across the track, quick brake up about 2/3 pressure, come away from the apex, and then go back for a really late apex around turn 2. Back over to the right hand side, looking for this light stanchion above us. Brake, really long trail brake off all the way down, and then building back up on the throttle nicely. Over onto the right hand side, up to 4th gear at 131 or 134 in that case, kilometers an hour. Don't need to worry about the first apex, hitting the second apex, doing a big lift because of where the wind is, and now back on the brakes. Long trail brake again, back on the gas, slowly building up. Trail braking again, like last week, is going to be key here. Up to 4th gear. No, stayed in 3rd gear, sorry about that. But building back up on the throttle, as you can see from the telemetry. Now we're up in 4th gear. Doing a big lift through 11. Back on the throttle, and then a big lift again, drop it to 3rd, just to get that rear rotated. Up to 4th. Lift again through this corner, clipping the apex-ish. Final brake. Trail it off, back on the throttle. Making sure you use the full width of the track on entry, at the apex, and then on exit. That's where all the time is. And across the line in a 1:43.399. Right, final time from the cockpit, where I'll shut up a bit. For those that have stuck with me this long, thank you very much. I'll turn up the wheel noise. as I say, if you look at the telemetry graphs there, trail braking and really long trail braking is important around this track. Do the same thing again, really low. And smooth throttle inputs to go back up to full. Is that getting that rear loose that I mentioned? And over and across the line. As always, my B lap is available in the description if you want to race my Ghost, and all my laps are on Garage 61 so you can see that conditions are correct. I've been Sambo iRacing. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys in the week. Thanks.